I like trains. Now that we get that.
Great way to start off a video. Perfect class. I cannot speak. Perfect classic meme material.
That out of the way, I wanted to do a video talking about a recent thing that happened to me, which was I was diagnosed with autism. I'm going to leave some time there.
Now, I have not done a reaction video in a long time. Like, God, 4 or 5 years? I think I only done like one reaction video, which sucked. And yeah, it was like when I first began this YouTube channel. Now, the reason why I'm specifically reacting to this video is because Jack makes a lot of good points in this video, and speaking as someone that's had an autism diagnosis for almost my entire life, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome at 2 years old. So I'm reacting to this video to confirm a lot of things that Jack says, like the symptoms and like how it feels to live with it, because he says a lot of things that I can confirm that are very true.
There for a lot of you to be like, yeah, duh, we knew. Well, if you knew, why didn't you tell me? No one told me. I want to talk about it because I think it's important to open up that conversation, because after having it be diagnosed officially by a doctor, a lot of people came to me and were like, oh, but you're so like social, and you're so like, your communication is great, and like I couldn't tell. And I think that that's an important distinction to make, because even for me growing up in like the 90s or the early 2000s, autism had to be that thing that was what is now known as nonverbal autism. It had to be the people who need to stim all the time. It had to be people who need repetitive motions.
Alright, now I know this could be considered offensive to some people, but to me, like around how did I say this? Around my time, that was called low-functioning autism. I'm not trying to sound offensive to anyone. That's just how doctors said it. You'd have high-functioning autism, then you would have low-functioning. I was diagnosed with high-functioning autism, which, I mean, I struggled to speak when I was younger, and I do struggle to speak a little bit now. But, like, we're gonna have to watch the video a little bit more so I can explain it more down the road.
You can't really communicate well. It was that like really stereotypical version of it that a lot of people still think today is what autism is. And don't get me wrong, that is part of the spectrum of it, and some people are that way, but that's not the entire picture anymore. And for me, for a long time, I was like, oh, I have ADHD. And I thought that that was the reason why a lot of the things I do are the way.
I forgot if he mentions this. He mentioned about autism and about someone being able to have autism and ADHD at the same time. But a lot of times autism can also be misdiagnosed as ADHD. This happened to my little nephew Zayden. He's diagnosed with ADHD currently, but a lot of the symptoms he's showing are more similar to autism, specifically similar to things that I have experienced, like over-obsessions with certain things, picky about certain feels and sounds. Like, my nephew's experiencing all those symptoms that are more similar to autism than ADHD.
I do them. But it turns out that ADHD and autism are also like a Venn diagram, or like they're part of the same spectrum, or however you want to visualize it. It's basically, I don't want to say basically, but to put it like in the basic.
Okay, but realistically, I'm not. Wait.
Sorry about this.
Why is there an ad inside my video?
Yeah, why is there?
Most banal terms, they're basically the same thing. And I got tested because of my own curiosity. I just like figuring out how my body is, why I am the way I am, how I kind of like fit into different places in the world, and also just to kind of like give myself peace of mind, because when I was a kid, I was the outsider. I was weird. I played video games too much on my own. I like stayed liking the things that other people didn't really like anymore, like the
all of those things. All of those things are things that I deal with. I was also the outsider. I also like things past their quote-unquote expiration dates. I I used to play video games a lot too. I mean, I still do when I'm really in the mood to play a video game, but yes to all this. I can relate to all of this.
You moved on, like, oh, I don't like video games anymore. And I'm like, oh, I still like love video games. They're cool. I love Sonic the Hedgehog and trains. I actually don't even really like trains or Sonic the Hedgehog. That's how no one knew I was autistic. As I got older, I was like, I have ADHD for sure, definitely. And I went and got tested for that and got medicated for that, and it didn't really work. And I'm trying like different medications right now for it. But at the time, I was like, it's not.
Same thing's happening. The same thing is happening to my nephew too. My sister's got him on a bunch of ADHD meds, but nothing's really working out for him.
Really like clicking. Like I have friends and other people I know who have ADHD and they take medications like it's night and day. That's not always the case for everybody, but just some of the things they were saying about their ADHD, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of like that, but also like a lot more. It just felt, when I was younger, it basically felt like I was the outsider. And then when I got ADHD, I was like, I still kind of feel like the outsider. So I felt like there was something more. So I wanted to go get tested for autism. As I was learning more about it, I started reading stuff that people with ADHD can have autism as well, that they overlap with each other quite a lot. And then I was like, reading that.
True, but like I said, autism has also been misdiagnosed as ADHD before too.
On the list was like, if you have autism, you likely have ADHD, you likely have depression and anxiety, you likely have intestinal issues, you likely have hypermobility and joint issues, and you likely have asthma. And I was like,
all those things are hitting the mark severely. Yeah, I just about have all of those. Now, I used to have really bad stomach issues, too, to a point, like, I was, like, having stomach issues, like, 3-4 times a month when I was in my, like, young teenage ages. But when I stopped drinking dairy and eating meat, those stomach issues, they've let up quite a bit, so I'm no longer having, like, painful IBS flare-ups. As for, like, mobility issues, I have something going on with my back. We're not sure if it was an injury or if it was something I was born with, but my spine is curved. So I got that. I was diagnosed with asthma as a kid. ADHD, no, I've never been diagnosed with ADHD. But yeah, just about everything. Anxiety, I have horrible anxiety. People give me anxiety. I was diagnosed with depression in like 2021, 2022, that due to a major cyberbullying incident, to a point I was being terrorized. And yeah, it sucked. It really sucked.
I have all of these things. I just have like a soup of like mess going on inside of me. And then as I started to understand, I was like, oh, all of these things are kind of like under the umbrella of neurodivergency. And I just thought it was interesting to get checked for different things and also just learn more about myself. And as I've gotten diagnosed with ADHD and autism, and even for me, getting diagnosed with autism was just such a massive positive. He was talking me through it and was like, some people react poorly to it, some people don't like to be confronted, some people don't think they have it and are a bit in denial about it. And I was like, I see this as nothing but a win. I finally have like more answers about myself, why I am the way I am. And not just for other people and where I fit in with things, because like it doesn't change anything about me. I'm still the exact same person I was. But for me, it makes me go easier on myself having these diagnoses about the conditions that I have. Like knowing that I'm autistic, ADHD, ADHD as they call it, makes me go easier on myself, being like, okay, that's why I couldn't really keep up in college, because my brain just kind of like works at a different pace. It doesn't really study things the way other people study it in a neurotypical way. And it's made me like recontextualize my life a lot more and made me just...
That too. I mean, I have that issue too. People used, like, my teachers and even my parents think that I wasn't like... Now, they used to think that I was struggling with my work, but as I got like in the higher grades, I was doing a lot better. And at that point, the teachers actually started getting upset that I was working ahead because I was such a fast reader. I was retaining memory from work so well that the teachers were actually, like I said, they were getting upset that I was working ahead and almost calling me disruptful. They were actually labeling me as disruptful because they were saying that I didn't have anything to do because I finished all my work super early.
Feel better about myself. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've taken away from all of this, because I've lived with it for so long now, 34 years of my life, that like it's not going to change anything really. It'll just make me dealing with myself a bit easier, to make me go easier on myself and treat myself a bit more kindly. And I think that's really important, because how many of us don't treat ourselves kindly? And a lot of people are probably like, Sean, why are you telling everybody? Well, it's not like you got diagnosed with cancer or something. I get it. Like I said, it doesn't really change much about myself. And it's not like a condition that's like really like life-threatening for me or anything like that, but I think it's a good conversation to have, because when I talked about being diagnosed with ADHD, the amount of people that came out in support of that, but also said that they got tested because of me. Like even my agent said he got tested much later in life, older than I am, because of the stuff I was saying. And I know that some people are going to say the same thing about this, like, oh, I didn't know autism can like present itself that way. Like looking at me, you wouldn't think that I was autistic for a lot of people. So I think it's important to have that conversation and also just normalize it. I'm trying to, you know what? I'm trying to fucking change this industry. I'm going into next year with an evolutionary mindset that I want to change this fucking industry from people who are obsessed with ambition and legacy. Legacy is just another fucking word for ego and narcissism. Like you're trying to build up a life for yourself that you want people to remember you after you're dead.
Oh my God.
We went without a health plan for a long time. Having kids was definitely.
How self-involved is that? Do good things and hope people do good things back and just spread positivity and joy, you know?
Again, know that feeling. I know that feeling.
But I want to change this sort of mentality around mental health and the way people operate, and this whole idea of like chasing ambition and views and goals and projects and being better than yourself every single day. It's fine to want to be better, but at the behest of absolutely everything else in your life, where your mental health struggles and all you're doing is being productive and making things and just not living your life or being a person or exploring your own mental health and your own mentalities, or dealing with the stuff in your past that fucked you up as a kid that's driving you to be ambitious because your dad probably instilled something in.
That hits right in the feels. 12 years, abusive father. I've had to deal with that. That was a living hell.
You or your mom wasn't proud enough of you, so you're trying to, like, you know what I mean? Trying to break down these walls.
My mother's great. My mother, I'm gonna be honest, I'd be crying if I'm gonna cry when I lose my mother. I really love her. But my dad was a piece of shit.
Walls and not, like, hide away from all of this shit. Have people, like, sit in this sort of, like, pseudo-masculinity nonsense that we're all kind of hiding in. At least from my perspective, being, like, I don't know. I'm just kind of tired of the lack of conversation around a lot of this stuff. And a lot of people, when I announced on Twitter that I had autism, people were like, dude, why would you admit to that? Like, it's some sort of bad thing. It's some sort of thing that suddenly...
Now, oh my God. Jack's right about this. I honestly don't understand why people act like autism makes you stupid. It doesn't. I mean, my dad was like this. Like, this is one of the things that made him a piece of shit. My dad acted like this. He acted like autism was making me stupid. He told me that I was going to end up in a mental home, that I was going to drop out of high school and never graduate. I mean, the joke's on him. I have a high school diploma sitting on my desk.
Like, makes me worse or makes me a different person. It doesn't. I would guarantee you that 99% of the people who do YouTube or do content creation or any sort of creative artistic thing all have ADHD. There's a reason that a lot of us are attracted to a job where we make our own hours and we get to communicate with people through a camera rather than having to be in front of them 24/7. You know, there's a definite pattern to this non-conformity.
Also an autism trait, because that was my first job choice, being a YouTuber. I mean, I was enjoying making the videos and stuff. I enjoy working a job where I can be myself and not be bossed around and being forced to cover up who I am just to please one or two people.
The aspect of like not wanting to do a regular 9-to-5 job, so you sit in front of a camera playing video games, or, you know, and I bet you like half of those people probably have autism. And they just don't realize.
Yes, that, again, that's literally me.
That's what autism is, like the way it presents itself. And it's the sort of terminologies and the paperwork and everything about it. The conversation around autism and what it is completely changing. And 10 years ago, I wouldn't have even said, I mean, even 5 years ago, I wouldn't have said that I had autism. And now here I am where I'm like, yeah, the signs were all there all along. And the way it presents itself in me is not so much, apparently my communication is good, but people don't realize, like, when I'm conversing with people, I'm going through like a million different things in my brain. I'm overanalyzing the way I am. I'm overanalyzing everything that I say. I'm pushing everything through a filter in my brain.
So am I. That's the anxiety. That's the anxiety talking. And, yeah, again, something else that sucks.
Reading everyone's body language all the time to, like, see where things fit in. So I always say that I'm a really good judge of character because I'm, like, hyper-analyzing people all the time. And not in any sort of judgmental way where I, like, throw it back at them. But for me, it's like a thing that I can use to kind of, like, help me get through conversations and social structures a bit easier.
That, too. Now, I've been well known for always finding the little details and stuff. Like, my mother always talks about how well I'm at it. Like, you know those videos that talk about all the little mistakes in movies, like discoloration in one scene? Like, I'm good at finding little details like that, and my mom always told me that I was good at finding stuff like that. And my neighbors have always told me that I was good at finding, like, lost items. Like, I found missing dog tags from my neighbors, missing keys, missing trinkets. I was just really good at finding tiny things and noticing when something tiny was out of place.
Easier, and I'm able to weave in and out through that. And I use comedy as my tool to do that. I can, like, sit down in a group of people, use comedy, and within 5 minutes, I can get a beat on everybody, and I can figure them out. And that, that's my superpower, guys. I have autism, I have superpower.
There is a video that I watched a while ago, like, discussing real-life superpowers, and there is actually a superpower. It's kind of like a superpower that is with autism, and it is something I most likely have. It's called savant syndrome, and this is, if you've heard of it before, it's something that, like, makes you smarter because it helps you retain a lot of memory. Now, I'm going to say something right now for those of you that wish you had autism so you could have savant syndrome. Don't. It sucks. Savant syndrome sucks for me. I mean, I love being smart. I love being able to retain useful information for bringing up in conversations or for my work, but with the work I'm currently doing now, my savant syndrome also causes me to retain a lot of trauma. Recently, I was attacked online. I was terrorized. My great nonprofit's website for my animal sanctuary was hijacked. I had to completely shut it down. And here's the thing: when I was attacked, it was actually on Thanksgiving. And just before that attack, I was at the hospital because I had a health scare. I had little red dots popping up all over my body. I was like really anxious, worried I was gonna get poked and prodded at. I was at the hospital for an hour only to learn that it was nothing. All the red dots were just ruptured blood vessels because I like to work out and weightlift. So yeah, I ruptured blood vessels working out. And like I said, the hospital visit was stressful enough, but to add on to that, I was attacked, I was terrorized. And when this happened to me, it brought me back to an instant that happened around 2021, 2022, where I was attacked and terrorized for wanting to adopt a cockatoo at the age of 16. And you guys know I adopted Moxie, the cockatoo, at 17 years old. And yeah, I'm still going through the trauma right now. It's really difficult for me. I'm facing anxiety, I'm facing panic attacks. And here's the thing. With the job I'm currently working as right now, like being an animal rescuer, this isn't going to be the last attack that I face. This won't be the last time I get terrorized. And I'm going to say something right now. When you work in a job that involves working with, like, living beings, like, actually helping them, whether you're working for a law enforcement, whether you're working as a doctor, a veterinarian, an animal rescuer, those are the most dangerous jobs out there. They're the most rewarding jobs, but they're also very dangerous. And you're probably asking me why the hell would I pick such a dangerous job? Well, because of the rewarding part. Going back on what Jack said about legacy, I'm not building a legacy for myself. I'm building a legacy so people can remember that there are others out there that truly care, that the world isn't always filled with hate. I may die with scars and wounds, but at least I'm dying knowing that there are people and animals out there that are actually living happier lives because of me.
But also with me it's sensory things. Like I've talked a lot about, like, let's say BB goes for a poop in the kitchen. I can smell when he goes to the bathroom immediately. I can pick up on the smell of shit a mile away. I'm like a
okay, rolling back on like the issue with textures and stuff, this is an issue I had. Like, if I smelled, like, every time my mom opened a can of vegetables when I was younger, I would gag at the smell. Yeah. I would gag at a lot of different smells that I didn't like, different textures. Surprisingly, I hated vegetables a lot when I was a child.
Shark with blood in the water. And then if he, like, shits on himself or something, I'm like, Evelyn, you gotta clean it up, because if I look at it and smell it and touch it, I gag nonstop. Like, I want to be able to help, but I can't do it. I will gag crazy with certain...
I was like this one time when my second nephew, Xander, when he was still a baby and I was holding him, he threw up on my leg. It looked like cottage cheese. Yeah, you heard me. It looked like cottage cheese. I was about to puke right then and there as well.
Foods, I'm a bit weird with, like, the textures and the consistencies of them. So for me, it's like a lot of sensory things. But apparently I'm doing masking, like, all the time. So it's really interesting. I think it's interesting to see, like, a lot of the stuff that people talk about, like, in social situations, and like, no, I'm just introverted and all. You probably are autistic and you just don't realize it. And unfortunately, getting tested for autism is a really tricky thing to do, because I went privately because the waiting list publicly on the NHS.
It's actually more trickier to get tested for autism. Sorry, I cannot speak again. It's actually more trickier to get tested for autism when you're an adult, like Jack said. Since I got my diagnosis when I was a kid, it was easier for me. My mother wants to get tested for autism, but she's struggling as well. She can't, like, she wants to be able to find a good doctor or a psychologist that can do a good diagnosis that does not cost a lot or takes insurance.
NHS is like 2 years, fuck that. I can't imagine having to wait that long to kind of like get an answer for things for yourself. So I feel for everybody out there who has to wait that long. I'm lucky that I was able to go private, and it still took like 2.5 months to get that assessment ready. And the assessment was fine for anyone who's thinking about doing it. The assessment for me was go in and sort of like break down your life in a way that is like, were you always like this as a kid? How did you play with other kids? How did you interact with other people? Were you shy? Were you communicative? How did you imagine your play when you were a kid? And now as an adult, how do you interact with other people?
Yeah, this is something that makes it easier to get tested as a kid than it does as an adult. Because when you're a kid, they actually like put you in these scenarios for real. When I was tested, I was like put in a room with a bunch of other kids so the doctors could observe how I played. I was like given multiple different toys so the doctors could observe how I play, and that's how they came up with the diagnosis, by observing how I actually did interact with other kids and with toys.
People, is it difficult to like keep eye contact? All of those types of questions that you kind of expect will be asked. But there's an assessment form that they go down through that actually is like graded. And for me, one of the scores, there was like a couple of things that I was being scored on, but one of the scores was like, the threshold was like anything over 100 is probably autism spectrum, and I scored like 121. So it wasn't like a crazy high number, but there's definitely like the traits are there. And you're not really supposed to say like moderate, severe, or like high functioning and all of that kind of stuff anymore, because it's kind of degrading, but you can kind of like...
Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier, so that's why I don't mean to be offensive. It's just really for me, and for like, it's just the best terms we know of right now, because those are the terms we were raised with and what we've learned from our doctors. Those are the best terms we know of right now. Honestly, I cannot think of any other better terms to replace high functioning and low functioning. Those are just the straight up best terms I know, because it seems like anything else I try seems to be more degrading than those terms.
Like figure out where I am on the spectrum with a bunch of other like terminologies. But the assessment...
Yeah, that's the issue. That is... I mean, it might sound degrading, but since those are the actual scientific terms we've learned, that's why it's so difficult to figure out where you're at on the spectrum with other terms, because those descriptions are more vague.
Assessment I found actually quite interesting, because it is, some people don't like breaking down their life and like confronting themselves in that way, but I quite enjoy doing that. I'm a very introspective person, and I like kind of figuring out how I tick. So I thought it was an interesting assessment to go through, but it wasn't scary or anything, at least not for me. So I would say if you're thinking about doing it, but you're kind of like apprehensive about it or scared of it, go for it. If anything, the worst thing that can happen is that you end up exactly in the place that you're in right now, and that's probably not that bad. But all the people out there, whenever I'm playing video games, and they're like, man, Sean's so distracted. What is he, stupid? I was pulling my hair out every time he did this. You guys are making fun of an autistic person. Bet you don't feel so good now, huh? You guys were attacking me over stuff that I can't control. How does that feel, huh? Not so good. Some of the reactions to it, though, were really funny. People were like, Jack, we know you did 100 episodes of Happy Wheels. And that was funny. Or I posted like the mustard meme from the Kendrick album of me screaming. And then right after that was like, I got diagnosed with autism. And people were like, duh. I think that's funny. I think it's fine. I'm okay with people joking about it. I don't really...
Yeah, I like a lot of autism jokes too. I see quite a few funny autism jokes on Pinterest. My most personal favorite joke is the autism creature. You know, yippee! Or the to be honest creature, whoever they're calling it right now. I mean, yes, those jokes are funny and cute, but like I said, while those jokes may make autism look entertaining, trust me, you don't want to actually wish for it, because especially if you end up like someone like me, you get the smarts, but you also have to deal with the trauma that you can retain.
Really have a problem with that. I think it's kind of funny. But I also wanted to talk about it because this is sort of the year where, not only in my personal life, I'm trying to live my authentic self, as it's called, and I'm trying to figure out more about myself and gain the confidence to kind of just be me as who I am. But it's also the year of mental health for me and for Thankmas. And I think that's another reason why I like pushed myself to get these assessments and to kind of like open up that conversation and be sort of that person that kind of takes that initiative. So I have an audience of people that I can use that influence to spread a better message and be more positive about it and break down this whole...
So after I watched this video, I actually decided to sign up for the Thankmas fundraiser too, since it's a wonderful cause. If you want to check out my fundraiser to help me raise money and work with people like Jack here, the fundraiser link will be in the description of this video and in my comment section. So please go check those out. That would mean a lot to me.
Or like, dude, don't admit it. Autistic people are bad, or like people are going to treat you differently, or like it's not cool to do that, or you know, I'm just so fucking tired of that. I'm tired of this version of the...
So am I, Jack. I'm tired of the rumors. I'm tired of the rumors. I don't know what else to say at the moment. Just enough with the made-up lies about autism. I agree with you there, Jack.
Of the internet that we live in, where everyone has to be like crazy productive, crazy ambitious, build a legacy, be as cool as you possibly can be.
That too. If I had $1 for every time people got pissed because I'm a cosplayer, I would be sponsoring the entire animal shelter that's in the neighboring city next to me. Yeah.
Show no signs of weakness whatsoever. That's all bullshit. Not showing weakness and puffing your chest up and trying to be the coolest person you can be and be as productive as you can and do the coolest things you can be, that's weakness to me. Because that means you're just working to hide from what you're actually scared of, which is being alone with yourself and loving yourself. Obviously, I'm throwing out a bunch of...
No, you're right about that, Jack. You actually are right. I could easily say that to the people that get pissed at me because I like to cosplay and actually create art for people to enjoy.
Accusations, and it's not true for everybody, and it's all unique and it's all different. But you know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at. You know where the vibe I'm sitting in is. And I want to tackle that head on next year, and I want to evolve. I want to be an evolved version of myself that is... This kind of contradicts itself, saying like going against the whole like be better every day, but you know what I mean? I want to be more open to who I am as a person and not dance around shit because of what everybody else tells me I should be acting like. That's true.
I'm gonna say something right now about what I like to do. If you're someone coming onto my channel expecting me to stop cosplaying or to stop making art because it's not your cup of tea of content, get off my page, because you're asking for expectation. You're asking for highly unrealistic expectations.
That's what it is. But Thankmas is going ahead soon. Tickets are on sale. If you are close to the LA area, you want to come see it. We have so many guests. I put them up already. You can go to the community tab and see it. It's all over Twitter as well. I've been posting a lot about it. We have some incredible guests coming up. We have some musical acts. We have 2 shows that are going on. It's going to be a great fucking day. I'm so excited for it. I can't wait to get together as a community. And
again, check out my Thankmas fundraiser too. Jack would be proud.
Raise money for mental health and kind of like push this narrative of positivity and change and upheaval that I think the industry so desperately needs. Because it's not been a great year for YouTubers and people who everyone thought was amazing and great, and like, oh, your numbers are really high, so that means you're a great person. You do a lot of charity, so that means you're a great person. Not always the case. And I've always tried to be a bit more transparent and honest and break down that wall and that barrier and not...
I agree, honestly. This year has kind of sucked for a lot of YouTubers. I mean, take Dan TDM, for example. There's a rap... Yes. Alright, Dan TDM. That man is currently living rent-free in KSI's head, all because Dan actually spoke out against Mr. Beast's crappy lunch product, which is currently being recalled and discontinued for multiple stores because mold has been found growing in the packages.
I'd build myself up into something that I'm not. And I think that that's important. That's why I'm having this conversation with you right now. That's why I ramble. That's why we're here. That's why we do it. That's the end of it all. Thanks for watching. I don't know. I have autism. That's it.
Get 50.
Oh, well, that wasn't... okay, I guess we're ending that on an ad. Well... I really love this video. I'm happy to see that Jack came out and told us about this diagnosis and gave us details about it. I'm kind of struggling to find the words here myself. I apologize, but... yeah, okay, so yeah, this... Alright, well, Jack summed it up well. He couldn't have put that in better words than I could have. It's nice to see that there's a YouTuber I can relate to on a deeper level, and I hope this changes your view on autism. If you recently had, well, if you used to have a negative view, I hope this changes your view now. And have a good day, everyone.